Hi everyone, welcome to the Wrestling Saga. My name is Kushal, and today we'll talk about what exactly happened within this episode of Dynamite. Things started with the FTR, Sean Spears, Tully Blanchard, MJF, and Wardlow walking away from a chartered jet into a car. And this entire scene reminded me of the way Evolution used to behave and the kind of shots they used to have within the WWE in the past. The match between Penta and Cody seemed long, probably because they had to focus on Cody working with an injured shoulder. After much offense from Penta, Cody tried to put him in a submission unsuccessfully. Surprisingly, Penta lost via a surprise pin-up. I'm a bit shocked at this. Ideally, shouldn't he have won for the rivalry to continue? However, he did assault Cody once again after the match, and that's when the Gun Club and R. Anderson came to save him. So probably that means the rivalry will definitely continue in the near future. Nick and Matt then planned to give an interview about their upcoming match with Rey Fenix and Pac, but they got interrupted by Don Callis. Don reminded them how they were no longer elite and that their previous NJPW selves were better, and perhaps that's why Kenny doesn't regard them in the same way he did in the past. That seemed like food for thought for the Young Bucks. Jade Cargill was up next for her first singles match after the Cody and Shaq match. Her competitor was Jordyn. Her entrance, especially her logo, was awesome. The logo seemed like it was a combination of Shazam and the Warner Brothers logo. Her image, the way she conducted herself in the match, was like she was a cold, calculative and precise individual. I like the way she managed herself within the ring. Her defeating Jordyn does make sense because it sets up her as not just a person who's racking up wins, but also eventually as the alpha heel within the women's division in AEW. And I can't wait till she wraps up her rivalry with Red Velvet and eventually goes behind Shida or whoever is the champion at that point in time. In his promo against the Inner Circle, MJF spoke great things about all members of the new faction. The faction's name is The Pinnacle. He also laid down massive burns on Chris Jericho for reasons such as his stamina, the space between his pecs, his receding hairline, and how MJF successfully fooled everyone, including the fans, into thinking that he was eventually trying to usurp the Inner Circle from Jericho, whereas all the while he wanted to get rid of the Inner Circle and establish his own superior faction. This was yet another example of how MJF on the mic is lit. And the faction's name Pinnacle, that's cool. In their tag team match against Blade, Butcher, Bunny, Private Party and Matt Hardy, the Jurassic Express and the Bear Country lost. They intelligently appeared and portrayed the roles of bumbling fools. There was a lack of coordination. The Bear Country, while picking up their opponents, mistakenly hit the Jungle Boy, which angered Luchasaurus. They were blindly tagging without coordinating with the other team. This was also a good example of how Matt Hardy is successfully making people hate himself more and more with each passing week. So that's brilliant acting on his part. Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley then gave a promo on the Good Brothers. This promo was fantastic for 3 reasons. Number 1, Eddie is legit good on giving promos because he has a natural flair. Second, his expressions do not betray his words in any manner. And third, Jon's I don't give a crap attitude goes hand in hand with the words Eddie was using to describe the Good Brothers. Then we got the interview with Christian Cage. Personally, I prefer answering questions in an elaborate manner, even if it means using a tangent to establish a larger context. When Dasha asked Christian why he chose AEW, he very eloquently explained how he was the workhorse, that he wasn't interested in anything or anyone besides the AEW Men's Championship, and that he knew how the process worked and he'll be interested in getting the wins one after the other so that he can eventually challenge Kenny for the AEW Championship. This was a solid promo, and it only goes to show that there's definitely a lot more to Christian than just him being regarded as one of the best tag teams ever. In their match against the Good Brothers, Eddie Kingston got attacked early on. Both of them took a great beating, a good amount of sustained beating from the Good Brothers. However, the Good Brothers eventually lost because Jon Moxley applied a inside cradle pin. Yeah, I understand a surprise pin-up is a abused tactic, but here I believed it made sense because Jon and Eddie both had been beaten black and blue. So the element of surprise was the only way through which they could genuinely get a win. After the match ended, the Good Brothers continued their assault. Then Kenny came around, used a chair, and he wanted to severely injure Jon and Eddie. That's when the Young Bucks came out. They reminded Kenny of how Don was changing him for the worse, which upset Kenny. And this was a good example of how a split is occurring in their own individual ideologies. Tony Schiavone then had an interview lined up with Sting and Darby Allen, which was eventually interrupted by Lance Archer and Jake the Snake Roberts. Lance Archer, in a way, put a good burn on Darby, calling him the biggest indie joke, and demanded a match. Jake the Snake also stated that it's not healthy for Tony Khan or the AEW team to ignore Lance Archer. Then when the interview with Sting was actually about to begin properly, that's when Team FTW, led by Taz, walked in. And before Taz could say anything, Brian Cage interrupted him, took the mic, and stated that regardless of how the match went and how they lost, he respects Sting and he believes, unlike Ricky Stark, Sting is equally good even without his quintessential baseball bat. That massively upset and angered Team FTW. And weirdly, besides Darby saying that he wanted to be a good TNT champion just like Brody Lee, Sting actually didn't really say much. So that was weird. Next we had a singles match between Rey Fenix and Angelico, which was an even match because both the men had an equal amount of skills. It was an enjoyable match to watch. It makes me think that Angelico perhaps doesn't get as much credit as he actually deserves. Like, look at this picture. This was taken after both of them hit each other multiple kicks in the head and they got exhausted. And that's how they were literally supporting each other by lying on each other standing. I find the choreography of such matches to be beautiful. Though Rey won, I don't think so Angelico looked poor or worse after the match. In an interview, Miro told how he doesn't care about a rematch with Chuck and Cassidy and that he's moved on to other things because he eventually wants to go for the AEW championship. That's when Kip butted in and said that of course he cares for the rematch because these guys ruined his wedding, and how these guys along with Miro eventually led to Penelope slipping and falling off and injuring herself. Remember I told you guys in a previous video that Miro is like the loose cannon who can fire on anyone, friend or foe alike. That is what was displayed over here because Miro made it clear that once the bell rings, he doesn't care for anyone in the world. Only what he cares about is the championship, the wins. That's about it. And that while outside the ring, they're the best of friends, but inside the ring, things are different. And yeah, eventually the match, Kip confirmed that yes, a match will definitely occur. A rematch, that is. On a positive note, Johnny Hungy is going to get a title shot with Darby Allen for the TNT Championship because Darby said that although he's only defended it thrice, he feels that that's a poor example and he's open to more challenges. So, Johnny Hungy. Now for the main event. We had Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa in a no disqualification match. Both ladies were equally offensive against each other. And this was despite Reba's interference in the match occasionally. We had chairs, ladders, thumbtacks, tables being used, and then on top of them, pile drivers, suplex, submission moves, and Death Valley drivers being executed. Both women also bled badly, objectively in fact. Dr. Britt Baker bled more. This should technically put an end to their rivalry with the Thunder Rosa having won, but having seen the trend with Jon and Kenny Omega, this might not be the case. I've also read online that both the women got a standing ovation from the entire team in AEW once they went backstage after the match and the show ended. That's something they deserve. On a side note, we got to see the shot of Sheila standing in front of a TV like this. For the love of God, please don't do this AEW. Do not give us these awkward screen watch-throughs. It's just weird. Also at the beginning of the show, Jade was seen sitting in the row and watching the match. And like I had thought about at the beginning of the entire Dynamite show, Jade would possibly be the alpha heel within the women's division. And the way she was seeing the match, it's as though she was enjoying looking at the contest, the harm being inflicted by the ladies on each other, and then assessing who she would compete with next. That was it for this particular episode, everyone, for AEW Dynamite. I hope you found my thoughts and my questions interesting. As always, I hope that you, your family, your friends, your job, everything is safe and secure. Till next time, see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.